I say let's go ahead and get started, just out of respect for everybody that joined. Just as a matter of introduction, my name is Zach Woods. I run the guest experience team here at Bask. It has been with great pleasure that I've worked on this project in partnership with Eileen and the beautiful team that she's put together over the past 9 months that I've been here, and I'm super excited to be sharing more information about what we've been doing the last 3 years, some of which did not have me. In terms of agenda, we're first going to start off with Eileen Osgener, who's going to talk a little bit about the background of Bask and sort of why Bask exists in the first place. I'm going to be back on screen with covering lodging and accommodations. I know from the Monday form that folks signed up in registering that there's a lot of questions about what are the dwellings, how big are they, how small are they. We're going to go through a lot of those details. Chelsea Connerly and also Eileen will be talking about some of the offerings or programming upgrades that we have here at Bask. Dwayne Estes from the Southeastern Grasslands Institute will be discussing some of the land restoration initiatives that have been taking place at Bask. We will pause for questions and answers. We have a few questions that folks already submitted via the Monday form, but please do not be hesitant. I know people know where questions and answer section are because you guys told me where you're at. We'll definitely answer as many of those as we possibly can during this session. And again, it's my great honor to pass this over to Eileen Osgener, who's going to give you some of the background on Bask.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. So good to see you all. Just real quick, I woke up this morning and this Prince song came to me, and it was from Let's Go Crazy. It was, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life." And that we are. It's just a reminder of the importance of connectivity. And so I'm really honored to connect with you today. And as for talking about Bask, it started approximately 4 years ago. It started much earlier than that, but I bought this land 4 years ago in 2021. Sight unseen. I was in Florida at the time. I just felt called to buy land. I wasn't sure why, except I had it in my head to build a cabin and to build a retreat center, and that was it, and that there needed to be water on the land. So I was fortunate in order to buy this 42-acre property in Centerville. Centerville is a small town of 3,500 people, and it is approximately an hour and a half outside of Nashville, and that is the amount of distance that needed to take place in order to get to the countryside, in order to get to a quiet place in nature. Just going an hour outside of Nashville wasn't enough because, as you know, Nashville is growing so quickly. So I felt like Centerville is the place to be, and it is beautiful out there. It is lush countryside greenery. But going back a bit, when I built the cabin and I started getting curious about the land, like, what am I going to do with this land? I have no idea. And I started calling in naturalists and environmentalists and giving them tours and showing them the wetlands, showing them all the different areas of Bask. But nobody was giving me any ideas. Nobody was giving any reports on what to do with her. And that's when, after a year and a half, I was very fortunate to finally be able to connect with Dwayne. Thank you to Deborah Rosenthal, in order to partner with, and to me, I feel that one of the biggest accomplishments of last year was being able to partner with SGI, because they are experts led by botanists they are botanists experts in land restoration and grassland restoration. And so I feel very confident and grateful to partner with them so that we can entrust that every acre of Bask is being restored to what she used to be long ago. And I also feel that I need to step back a little bit and give you some of my history so that it is representative, and to offer transparency to you because it is so important to me that Bask is rooted with transparency, which also requires some vulnerability at times, authenticity, and truth. I had a very hard background, and I had a very abusive ex-husband who I lived with for 12 years. And I'm bringing this up because it's a complete miracle I'm alive today. I felt like I could have died many times over. I went through many periods of suicidal thoughts, and yet I knew I'd never do it because I had my children and they meant the world to me. But every day I felt my body was breaking down and ready to give up because I lived with such immense trauma, isolation, everything you could think of happened. And I'm telling you that because we have a choice with what we do with our traumas. We can stay where they dictate our lives. We can allow them to define us constantly. And I didn't want that. And that is where my healing journey began in 2019. I started really intentionally focusing on healing myself and turning to others who could help me. I was very open at the time and also very desperate because I had massive physical issues. I had migraines that would take me down for days. I had such severe gut problems that I was really severely handicapped. And so this healing journey took a few years for me, but I embraced it. I learned about it. I met wonderful healer friends. Something popped up here. Sorry, something popped on the screen. I met wonderful healers and I became immersed in that environment and my body healed. I have no migraines. I haven't for years. I have no gut issues at all. And I'm so grateful because I took these traumas to learn from them and to alchemize them into who I am today. I feel so free now. And even though I didn't remarry again and ended up divorcing because I needed to in 2022, when I did go through that final divorce and when I had gone through so much healing, I was able to open up and all this creative intelligence came to me and it was a miracle. It was like so much was coming through me and I was asking questions. Okay, what can we do to bring life to this land? I want people to feel alive. And I felt this knowing inside of me that Bask is it. Bask is where we can root what's important, which is authenticity, right? Truth, love. And so to restore her, we've taken every area and these plants are growing beautifully and abundantly. And there's wildlife, there's pollinators. And she's responding because we are showing her love, we are taking care of her, and she is responding 100-fold. And this is where I'm like, okay, this is a message to me that land is where we start. We start with the roots, we start with truth. This is what we're creating. But it's so much bigger than me, it's so much bigger than the team. It is about starting new life, new direction, new beginnings. We get to reimagine that as we feel is intentional, is of the highest integrity. It is so important to me that everything is of the highest integrity. And my team is that way too. We know that this is a much larger calling than any of us that we are creating for the world. And so the land, when you come, whatever healing, wherever you want to be, if you just want to come and rest and get off electronics, relax, she will support you abundantly and beautifully. This land is speaking, she is powerful, she is wanting to support and help people. And it is a reminder that we need to go back to our roots. We need to go back to remembering what is important for humanity and for our lives. And it is starting with the land. And that is the message I keep getting. We start with the land, because as we help her transform, we transform ourselves. And we are all connected. And so this knowing, this vision is what can help us in our healing process, in feeling freedom. It was important to me after my experiences also to create a very safe space. And Bask feels very safe and nurtured and beautiful. And so I am confident people coming in, retreats coming in, are going to get exactly what they need and want in whatever individual capacity it is. Everybody is different, everybody has their own needs, and all of it is welcome at any time. We have beautiful creek flowing. We've got beautiful big mounds of quartz crystals that are by the creek. We have wetlands that are being restored, and we're hoping to get wood ducks. We had a bird expert come, and we're doing so much to invite in the animals and wildlife and pollinators and all the beautiful beings that support us in our healing journeys. And so this is the vision that I have, and I know that Bask will be changing lives and saving lives. So I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing, but this is how I feel about Bask. This is why about Bask. And thank you so much for listening and for being here. I look forward to connecting with you soon.
Okay, this is me off camera to Eileen. We love, go Eileen. I know you guys are just at the edge of your seat. Thank you for sharing that. It's awesome to hear, obviously, as we transition to talk a little bit more about sort of the structures or dwellings, as we call them, that are placed on the land. I really appreciate, and I hope you all appreciate understanding that even where these structures are located on the 42 acres of Bask was very intentionally designed based on a lot of the ecological considerations that Eileen so beautifully just kind of laid out. So here comes some fun factoids. I'm gonna first pop up a little map. I think this map actually does a really nice job of giving everyone sort of a semi-orientation to where, the different things are. Obviously, we'll look at a spec sheet of the chrysalis space, which is down here in the bottom left. We'll look at a spec sheet of the cabins, or the roots and honey cabins, which are nestled over here in the top left of the map. But if you guide yourself from the right to the left, you come into the entrance, you pass what is known as the sonic field over on your right. You see the wetlands that Eileen alluded to. We have a beautiful creek. I believe I've called it the Blue Lagoon, but I think we may have to call it the Quartz Lagoon. I think it's meant to be how many creeks have like huge quartz rocks. I mean, boulders inside of them. It's really gorgeous. And then obviously the prairie, Dwayne is going to talk about that little area. Buffalo Lodge you'll see in grand detail here in a few moments as well. Before I go into the spec sheets of each of these different dwellings that are on the property, I'm going to pop over to a video. There should not be sound on this video, and it is a speed ramp video of moving from location to location. Nigel mentioned already, he said, dude, this was shot in the winter, like we can't show it's in the winter. Understand that everything is immensely greener now, so just take that with a grain of salt. But this is going to give you a little orientation, starting off in the domes and moving through the dwellings, and then we'll go through the spec sheets of those places.
Recording in progress.
So there was actually some video in there, or some audio in there, and maybe you picked it up through my microphone, which would be extra cool. And now we know that the video we have coming up later will work, which is very confidence inducing. We're going to start with what I refer to as the epicenter of gathering at the Bask property, and that is Buffalo Lodge. Eileen, actually one of the very first meetings that I had with her, she kind of told me the vision for Buffalo. It was really, really not even in construction, or kind of semi in construction at that time. This was over a year ago at this point. And she told this beautiful narrative of the reason for the name of Buffalo Lodge is that Buffalo have this beautiful tradition, I should say, or practice that when there is a sick or elderly buffalo within their herd, that they put that buffalo into the center of the herd in order to protect that buffalo from any threat that may be coming up, whether that's weather or a predator. And I think that Buffalo Lodge, in a lot of ways, aims to represent the center of the herd. It has amazing tile work, amazing design, amazing sort of 70s chic kind of energy, but there's also just tons of gathering space for people to share meals, to share time together. You can see on the front end here, obviously the beautiful stonework of the fireplace is gorgeous from the outside, but inside it is absolutely immaculate, all the way down to the countertops that are being chosen or have been chosen and installed for the interior of the kitchen. It's really gorgeous, abundant, convivial, and inspiring. Within the Buffalo Lodge, on the main floor, the bottom floor, there are 3 queen rooms. On the top floor, there are 3 twin rooms. So twin rooms in this case are rooms with 2 single beds inside of them. And then there's also 1 triplet room. That room is known as the Monarch Room. You'll come to find out that not only does each lodge or dwelling at Bask have a name, but each room in Bask has a name and a color scheme and a design idea and paint and entire aesthetic related to that specific context, which is really beautiful. On the back side of the Buffalo Lodge, so you're currently looking at the front view, on the back side of the Buffalo Lodge is a gorgeous screened-in porch that's going to have a sauna, a cold plunge. There'll be a really beautiful 70s style fire pit area that's out there, and it'll just be an amazing place for, as I say, the epicenter of gathering at Bask. There'll also be, and Eileen would have my hide if I didn't mention, there will be a custom juice and coffee bar inside of the Buffalo Lodge. So you're welcome, Eileen. I know you were waiting on me to miss that. The geodesic domes, the names of the domes are Moss, Clover, and Iris. And I so wish that Owen Rich was on the call today, because the dome that you're seeing in front of us, not only do these domes have names that are sort of natural and cool, literally everything that's being done in the entire landscape architecture around these spaces is being driven by the themes of the names. So as you can see here, this is the Moss Dome. There's beautiful native moss of Tennessee planted and growing actively on these rocks and stones that have been pulled from quarries. It's really, really amazing. These are the best view of, at least in my opinion, some of the best views to wake up to on the entire property. Each dome has a queen bed inside of it. Amazing for reflection, journaling, spending quiet time. Absolutely incredible. And I think we have some images of the domes here on the next slide. You can see the dome trio on the top left. This is another image of moss. This is the interior. I'm going to probably miss this, but I believe this is the interior of Iris. And then on the far left, you can see a photo of the bathhouse. The last dwelling structure that we'll cover are the cabins. Those cabins are Roots and Honey. Just to call out a little note, I did not prepare to say this, but the concept of, yeah, we're going to build cabins in the woods, and yeah, those cabins are going to be really beautiful, and they're going to have windows into this amazing nature setting. But you know what? Let's go one step further and build a honeycomb structure of decking that leads to the actual entrance of the honey cabin. that's the kind of detail that's gone in here, and you can find those types of touches literally throughout the entire property. These cabins feature a queen bed on the main floor and 3 singles in the loft area upstairs. So these images give you a good view of that. This is the queen room on the main floor. You can see the outside of the Roots cabin with all of the custom and native planting that's been done there. These feature private kitchens for folks that want to prepare meals while they're there. Obviously Buffalo Lodge is where the main kitchen setup and catering efforts will be taking place. And then to get a quick view of where the loft access is, you can see that these amazing drop-down ladders pop down right in front of your bedroom entrance, and you go up to the loft area, and then you affix it close when you're ready to go night-night. The last structure that we will cover is the structure known as Chrysalis. And we went back and forth on, we did not go back and forth on the name of this space. It was Chrysalis almost from the jump. Eileen kind of had an epiphany and was like, we want transformation to happen here. And I was like, okay, well, that's the name. That was really good. But we went back and forth on, is this a movement space? Is this an embodiment space? And said, no, this is an expression space. This is a space where people can express with physical movement. People can express with their mentality or attitude. People can express with art. There's so many ways that expression happens, and this building was literally conceived from the ground up to allow up to 30 guests to express in the way that that they know how. This is going to be an amazing facility for both retreat leaders, practitioners, and guests of those individuals. It's really beautiful. Super robust sound and PA system for folks that are looking for allowing music or voice to guide whatever practice it is that they're looking for. And we will have a lot of sort of the accoutrement that's necessary for practices of varieties like yoga mats, blankets, bolsters, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, so this is the last little slide that I have before we go over the offerings. We got, quite a number of details that were requested of us just regarding what kind of support will we have at Bask? What kind of food do you offer there? So I want to go over a few of those details. First and foremost, all of our retreats will have dedicated retreat leader liaison from the group or guest experience team. There'll also be a guest experience concierge on site and property management on site 24/7 during your stay. So on site resources for you if anything should ever arise. And obviously our team leading up to or after your retreat is there to support. Chelsea and Eileen will be going over some of the programming or offerings that we have on the facility. I think it's a really beautiful list and growing by the day, sometimes growing too much. I know I'm one to say, hey, maybe we do 35 really incredible things as opposed to 75 really incredible things. But they'll keep pushing the limits, and that's actually a good thing. From a nutrition standpoint, we know that food is medicine. And frankly, one of the really cool things that we saw through talking to so many retreat leaders over the course of the last number of months as we ramp up for our September opening date is food is not just an afterthought for many of you. Food is really a part of the program. If you are Ayurvedic, if you are have dietary restrictions like gluten-free or celiac, our goal is to match you with the catering or culinary expert that can really help to enable that your dietary restrictions are met and that your retreat themes or goals are achieved. From an inclusions perspective, so obviously the offerings are going to be really interesting, but what are the things that you get just for booking a stay at Bask? You're going to have access to certainly some of the Southeast, if not the country's most educated botanists that are going to be doing guided nature walks of the facility. It is so important to Eileen that we're not just talking about restoration and ecology, but that we're living it by planting things in the soil. There will be planting exercises and workshops taking place all the time during retreats. Creek play, hiking trail, sauna, cold plunge, hot tub. These are all things that are, free of charge for you coming there. We want you to feel relaxed. And yes, programming is important, but sometimes unprogramming is important, meaning having downtime, having time to relax, having time to just take a half day or a day to do nothing on the agenda is really key. And then the last little note, this was a question we kept getting over and over. So for a 10 guest booking, those are going to include 2 free of charge leader slots. That could be 1 retreat leader and 1 practice leader that will come free of charge for room and board. And there is a 2-night minimum stay for outside retreats that we'll be looking to enforce in the fall as we start to ramp up. So that's enough of me talking, at least for now. And I'm going to pass it over to Chelsea and Eileen, who will be going over some of the offerings that we've curated and compiled for you all to review.
Hello. 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 This is lovely Chelsea with me. And the offerings. I just want to come back to the words that came through earlier, which is unplug, restore, reconnect. I kept thinking of those. And as I mentioned, I've been through many healing experiences. And so I took this very personally and have really enjoyed working on the programming part, and have been very intentional with meeting with people. I've met with about 200 practitioners and really feeling into what is being offered and putting some of that together so that we can come up with lots of variety in how we can support you and what you'd like. In fact, there are many things that you won't see on this list that we have. So we have many more offerings than what you will see here visibly. But Chelsea's going to go ahead and talk about some of the very special highlight offerings.
Yeah, and I'll be brief because like they said, we could talk about 75 different menu items, if you will. So we're just going to be brief, and we have a lot of unique experiences at Bask. For instance, if we want to focus on herbalism, we could talk about herbal adaptogens and do workshops based on that, or herbal healing. We will also, like Zach mentioned, we'll have our movement space or expression space. So we could do things like warrior yoga. We could also do archery and arrow making. And another amazing role that's going to be part of our offerings are individual offerings, one-on-one sessions like massages, human design, Reiki, vibroacoustic therapy. So there are a ton of options for this. And as you can see on this slide, here's a couple more, but the menu is more like a Cheesecake Factory menu of programming. So, our goal is really to connect your retreat with subject matter experts that, really align with your needs. So we are now going to cut to a video of Owen Rich. Our production team did this video. It is about the Allegheny monkey flower. It's going to be one of the other experiences you can choose from.
One of the things that we're going to be working very hard to do here at Bask in terms of the creek restoration is to preserve plants like this one, which is called Allegheny monkey flower, or Mimulus ringens in Latin. And this is a great species for pollinators. A lot of butterflies visit these throughout the day. And we're going to be adding more of these plants either from seedling cultivation or even transplanting them as we restore this creek. We're also going to be adding a number of silky willows, which are endemic to the site, in the swamp behind me. And we're also going to be adding hazelnut trees or shrubs to produce food in the actual creek bottom in these big sand gravelly beds. There's not a lot of plants that can grow in that amount of water. However, indigenous groups cultivated these stream banks intensively in the past, and that's one of our goals here. So we're not only going to try to preserve and increase the quantity of native indigenous plants, but we're also going to increase the quantity of indigenous useful plants so that this space isn't just pretty, but it's also functional.
Hello again. I am delighted to introduce Dwayne Estes, who is Executive Director and co-founder of Southeastern Grassland Institute. He is a professor at Austin Peay. He is known to be the Prairie Preacher, which is a powerful documentary. It is about the gospel of the grasslands. He's been featured in the New York Times. SGI has been awarded millions of dollars in grants. It's really beyond words, and we are so honored to be the first land selected in Hickman County for SGI to partner with. So, yay! And thank you so much, Dwayne, for being here.
Eileen, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much to you and your team for having me. Super excited. When you first called me a couple years ago and told me about your vision and by creating Bask as a place of healing for many different people, it immediately resonated with me as connecting with my own past story. And I won't belabor the point, but as a young man who grew up and as a child growing up in Middle Tennessee all my life, I became a botanist sort of at the age of 12, largely because of the need for healing that nature could provide. I grew up in the country, 2 counties to the southeast of Hickman County, about an hour south of Nashville, in a chaotic home with a lot of mental illness in our home, and sort of needing nature as a refugium to go to every single day to make sure that I could live well and have peace and find myself. And so I've carried that need for nature all throughout my life. And 8 years ago, had the opportunity to found the Southeastern Grasslands Institute up at Austin Peay State University, 2 counties to the north of Hickman County. And it's just grown beyond my wildest dreams. So I'm delighted to talk a little bit about how SGI and Bask will work together. And a lot of it, we're still, in the sort of the dreaming phase of how we're going to work together through the future. But I think at our very core, it's about nature and the healing power of nature, uplifting people in the process. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the specifics of how we might do that. And a lot of people, first of all, think about Middle Tennessee and where Bask is based, and they think, well, you're the Prairie Preacher. Why are you here? Why is Tennessee an appropriate place to even address this issue of grasslands? And that's because people think about the Middle Tennessee landscape as an all forested landscape historically, but that just shows the imbalance that has been created, much in the way that many of our populations now are out of balance. Our ways of life are out of balance. Individually, our lives are out of balance, leading to higher rates of mental illness and higher rates of cancer and so many other things that are plaguing society. Similarly, our landscape is out of balance. We've had many of our forests that are native to this region have been logged and clear cut and have rebounded over 150 to 200 years. Many of the woodlands that were once open and free and maintained by natural fire have become closed in. And many of the grasslands, the meadows, the prairies, and the savannas that once existed in Middle Tennessee simply have vanished beyond recognition, so that most Middle Tennesseans aren't even aware that they ever existed. But when you come to the valley where Bask is located, you have all that there. You have natural forest, natural woodlands that are in a state of healing, and natural meadowlands down along the creek that have been there since time immemorial, when they were managed and created by beaver and Native American populations. And so for us, when we start thinking about this imbalance, it's very clear when we start to look around the eastern United States, we can see the massive collapses in biodiversity that signify this imbalance. The loss of birds, the loss of pollinators. This just didn't happen overnight. This began to take shape over 250 to 300 years of American history. As we've tracked this loss, we can see the imbalance beginning to establish the 1690s and 1700s, moving west as America was settled. So that by this time, where Bask is located, we really begin to see that nature imbalance beginning to take place as early as 1800, and certainly by the time of the U.S. Civil War. So today, what we have left are ecosystems that are out of whack and that desperately need our help and our attention. And so we believe that bringing people to help with nature healing, not only as a place to seek refuge, but to be a part of the nature restoration process is something that Bask offers us, just in the way we offer certain things to Bask as well. So we're all living life on the edge these days, right? And as we go to the next slide, we'll see what the real world consequences of this imbalance have created. Again, not only has it meant imbalances for human populations in some of the things I mentioned earlier, like higher cancer rates and higher rates of mental illness, higher rates of feeling excluded. But look at what's happening to our native species. This is just one example from here in central Tennessee, where a whole collection of species have been lost in less than 25 years from some of our native meadow habitats. That's the similar kinds of collapses we're seeing all around us in many different types of native plants and animals. So with what Southeastern Grasslands Institute is bringing to Bask is this ability to reimagine the landscape, to heal the landscape, and to work with the visitors who come to Bask to do some incredible things. You know, workshops, yes. Active restoration, yes. Helping Bask with prescribed fire and the treatment of invasive species to help that landscape live to its fullest potential with people as a central part of the equation. These are just some of the photos from some of the work we've done up in Clarksville, Tennessee, north of Bask, with Google at their property. And we are doing the same kinds of things right now, thanks to a new $10 million grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation that we're very honored to have Bask and Eileen be full partners on that grant with us. And Zach, please, if there's anything that I've maybe missed, please let me know. I'm happy to speak further, but I'm really excited about this opportunity for us to play such a key role in partnership with Bask.
Yeah, Dwayne, I just have one question. Can you just make Bask look like this in 2 months rather than 4 years? Would that be?
It's impossible.
Okay. Okay.
But we're going to give it our best shot. I know our team's already been on the ground with you guys, and it's going to get better all the time. And some cool time lapse photography will maybe help us to visualize those improvements over time.
Nigel's he's screwing on a new lens to his camera right now.
Super. All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're so appreciative of you. And folks, if y'all have questions for Dwayne or for us, feel free. This is a good opportunity to kind of step into the Q&A section. We do have a few questions that were received that we'd like to answer, here while we have the time from the registration form. But if there are questions from the audience that's already sort of percolating in your mind, whether that's related to land restoration, nature conservancy, or what have you, we'd love to hear those from you. As you're doing that, to further show how snazzy we are with all of our technology, I am going to, and I think this will work, I'm going to launch a simple little poll on your screen. It may pop up, and it just asks 4 questions of you all. We'd love to get some input from the group that we have here, almost 30 of you. So the first question is, have you hosted a retreat before? Yes or no? The second is, are you planning a retreat soon, whether you've hosted one before or not? The third question is, what type of retreats are you interested in leading? A few different modality options, and you can select multiple options with that. And then the fourth question is, what is the most difficult part of hosting a retreat? I know that may be tough, but this is a single select. So pick the one that you find most difficult from your experience or from what you've researched if you have not hosted one before. So as you're filling those out, thanks in advance for doing so. Really appreciate it. I'm going to check out the Q&A section. Amanda Howard asked if the offerings are a separate cost. I think I mentioned a little bit earlier some of the off-the-cuff inclusions. So again, time with our botany experts, nature hikes, trails, et cetera, those things are included in retreats or even stays that are happening at the Bass property. But absolutely, certain of the offerings would cost additional fee. That fee would be driven by, is it a group offering? Is it a service that's being offered? So more like a spa type of service, but those would come at an additional fee related to size of group and length of practice. Most often are the two driving forces. And we'd be happy to have a conversation with you about kind of what's in your mind's eye from a package. You're welcome. Thank you. Jen, fabulous. I don't know what's fabulous, but I'm so glad you said that. I'll imagine that you're referring to the backdrop that Nigel set up. Yes, indeed. Fabulous. Okay. So as you're thinking about your questions, thanks in advance for hitting the polls. Hi, Amanda. Good to see you. I am going to pull up. Oh, there was one more question. Let me see if that's in there. Amanda North, thank you. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you about all the pricing details for accommodations and what the inclusions would be, how many, obviously the number of dwellings that you'd be having, the type of programming that you'd like to add to your retreat. I'd be happy to follow up with you directly if you'd be interested. Oh yeah, Jen, obviously it wasn't the backdrop. It was Dwayne. Dwayne, she's so thankful for you. We did have a few questions. I'll go ahead and answer those. We have them sort of live lifted up. So the first question was, is there a body of water near Bask that instructors, like the person who asked this question, could lead guided stand-up paddleboarding or rafting classes? The answer is yes. The Duck River is one of the most gorgeous and naturally diverse waterways in the entire country. And it is 10 minutes away from the Bass property itself. The second question is it possible to combine with other hosts or practitioners to create a joint effort retreat? Absolutely. Absolutely. We'd feel honored to help combine forces if someone's either hesitant about their quantity or if someone says, I really feel that I have half of a retreat and I really want to couple it with blank. I feel so confident in saying that Bask is really about making connections so that people, have a chance to heal and feel better and more complete. And if that's us connecting you with someone that could help round out your programming, we'd be more than happy to do that. The third question is it possible to set up time to tour the facilities? Yes, it is. You can imagine that the sporadic tours are definitely slowing down as we get closer to our September launch date. But we do have set tour times during the week, typically on Wednesdays when we're doing site tours. So if you're interested in a site tour, we have a lot of local people here, which is fantastic. We'd be happy to arrange a time to potentially have multiple retreat leaders or practitioners come together for a facilities tour. The fourth question is, what type of retreats do you most want to host and have it honor the space you built? I go back to the 3 core values: unplug, restore, reconnect. If those values resonate with your retreat concept, I think your retreat has a good home at Bask. And that does not mean that your retreat needs to include bonsai pruning as one of the requirements, right? We know and understand that not everyone has that level of botany expertise, and we do not require that level of botany expertise to do a retreat here. But if those core values resonate with you, I think we're open doors to various types of retreats and various types of leaders. Q5 is, in what ways can relationship building, time spent on the land, be integrated into retreat circles, walking trails? I alluded to this earlier, so I'll kind of cursorily go over this. Programming is important, but one of the things that we see certainly from more junior or more novice retreat leaders is they almost have a tendency to over-program. They have this tendency to say 9 a.m., 10:30, 11:15, 12:05. Less is more. Less truly is more. And while we will not mandate that you have to have certain gaps and breaks for nature time, we absolutely will encourage that you build in time that people can go and be in nature and just enjoy all that is happening in the space that the island and team have helped create. And then the last question is, what are going to be the steps taken to maintain mindfulness and respect of nature? I pray that that's been answered in spades by Dwayne, and hearing me talk about it would do a disservice to anything he said, so I'll not say that. Will there be animals? Can teachers or lovers of animals practice with animals? I'm going to say maybe. I'm going to say a maybe on that one. I know for a fact that Eileen is head over heels with one of the offerings, which is it will be a programming item, which is a visit to an alpaca farm, where there will be interaction with alpacas. There will be items created with alpaca fur. So that was one of the things I said, guy, hey, we gotta, really think about this. But so at Bass proper, I would say we just have to have a conversation about it.
Bird watching.
Bird watching. So there will be birds, obviously, with a lot of the land restoration and the intentionality behind it. The goal is certainly that more flora or more fauna is there in addition to more flora on the property. Cool. Please reach out to us. I will include, I can include my contact information as well, but if you have a question, if you want to follow up, please send us a note to info@baskretreatcenter.com. Subject line, attended webinar, let's do it. Whatever you get, attended webinar would be the subject line start. You can include whatever creative ending to that you'd like. We really, really appreciate you all. And I'm going to check one more time just to see if there is any more queue. Was my question, and maybe I missed something, but are there trails on the property? Thank you, Amanda, for clarifying. Yes, there are. There are trails on the property. There are numerous, I want to say miles of hiking trails on the property that are cultivated, cleared out in the land. Yes. Jen, will you be listing and marketing retreats? I think I answered that kind of at the end, but yes, we will be. We will be listing and marketing retreats on our website, and I'll even elaborate slightly on the 4 strangers to sign up. I think that really, it really comes down to the retreat leader's preference, right? Some retreat leaders may well want to have a vetting conversation with retreat participants, meaning we can market the event, we could get people to say, I'm interested, but at the end of the day, the retreat leader, that would be a conversation between Bask and the retreat leader in advance of, do you have a screening process for your retreat attendees? And if you do, we would happily, I'd say enforce or support your screening process if that would be helpful. Fantastic. Well, I just want to say thanks again to Dwayne, our esteemed guest. We really appreciate all the work that you've done for SGI more broadly, quite frankly. We are merely the beneficiaries of partnership because of steps you started taking decades ago with your knowledge, and we really appreciate your partnership. We do believe that it's more than platitude partnering with SGI. It truly is part of the underpinning of what we're doing at Bask is restoring this land, and we believe that that's going to ultimately make a more fruitful and robust retreat experience for folks like yourself. So thank y'all so much. We really, really appreciate y'all. And if you're interested, please email info@baskretreatcenter.com or reach out to us on all of the social medias under the sun, and our team will engage with you shortly thereafter. So we wish you a really happy rest of your Saturday. And we're done 3 minutes early, which I'm not going to call a loss. Bye, everybody. Thank you.